You look at some of the world's most prominent players, and it looks like the recruitment, even clubs' recruitment direction now is more towards Southern America. You look at Chelsea, a lot of Brazilian players. You look at Real Madrid, a lot of Brazilian players, and they look there for talent, right? So it's still a little bit of like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to see that clubs look there for the talent, but then when it comes to national team football, it's still like there's no aura around it. It's not flowery and it's not beautiful.
Well,
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Shaft podcast. On this episode, we would have an in-person version of the beer parlor where we discuss sports-related issues. And so with me here today is a PR person, a sports fanatic, very active on Twitter and social media, usually tweeting about sports, but also a heartbroken Chelsea fan, which we'll talk about it later. But on this episode, we are here to review the Euros and happenings within the Euros as well ahead of the finals on Sunday. But also do a little bit of comparison between the Euros and Copa America. There's a little bit of debate there as to whether it's which of them is quality, which of them is better, which of them is much more competitive. And so here with me to have this discussion is Raphael Arthur. Ralph, welcome to the Shaft podcast.
thank you very much. It's something I've really wanted to do, but I can't start this without asking the question. How is a beer parlor without beer?
Bro, I'm a non-alcoholic. And also it's beer parlor because you guys like beer with sports, and so that's it.
Okay, sure, that's a good one.
Yeah. But, I mean, did you ever think your first episode on the Shaft to be an in-person one? You've pestered me for like years.
No, don't say years because I think we're just a year now when we started. And I think the progress of the podcast is one that will be quite remarkable, the consistency and the effort. And the fact that somebody like you is talking about sports means that there's always an opportunity for people to diversify.
Moving on, because this whole discussion is just turning into a shit. But yeah, back to topic. Okay. I mean, Euros versus Copa America. There's been a lot of debate around where are the best teams. I think Lionel Messi even had to comment and say that, look, some of the most consistent world's champions, as in the World Cup champions, come from the American continent. And so what do you think? Because we've seen the competitors, we've seen the matches. Currently, you have both finals pending, Argentina versus Colombia, and then you have France, not France, you have Spain versus England. Like, which of these two matches would you want to watch? And does that seep into the conversation about one being quality more than the other?
So I think the conversation around, what's the name? Copa America and Euros is a contextual one, because usually when you look at like team collectively, if you look at league, if you look at players, all these things have like similar comparatives. So if you talk about which continent has like the best leagues in the world, definitely nobody's looking at the Copa American side, because it's Spanish, English, and the French league and the rest of that. Now, where this conversation becomes quite technical is when we are looking at the tournament as a whole and what you prioritize. Because if you look at Copa America, it's a semi-wrestling fight. It's more aggressive. Fans, players, referee. It's more hard, high-tempo kind of football matches, more physical. It gives like lots of attributes to like olden style of football we usually see. If you look at Euros, apart from probably English matches that are quite boring, usually they are much more tactical, more passive, like the kind of things we watch week in, week out from Chelsea, United, and the rest of that. So for me, if I'm supposed to do a comparative based on which one is more football-ish, if that word is right, or plays the kind of idea of what we think football is supposed to be now, it's Euros. But when we look at which gives us more excitement, more aggression, more, because if you look at the dribbles, if you look at more of the kind of football style that you get from Copa America gives you that and gives you excitement. But if you look at which tournament has more of the world best player currently, definitely it's Euros, because all the biggest guys you can talk about in the English Football League, in the Spanish League, even if you look at like upcoming stars are there. Copa America rather looks more like, no offense, a retirement this is a shade, we have to just show it. It's like a retirement shade home kind of tournament. I don't know how you defend that. Saudi Pro League, exactly. Because you see people like, what's the other guy? Suarez is there. No offense, Messi, my goat, is there, but he's not even getting a lot to play. James Rodriguez, who can ghost like literally an entire season, goes there and he's giving like back-to-back man of the match performances. And when you look at that comparative, you can see that, it depends on what you want. But for me, I would give Euros like top quality. This Euros particularly is out of the world. And probably the time zone factor, because the kind of energy I used to watch matches at 12 o'clock and the one I used to watch at 3 p.m. are quite different. So we can always say that.
I think also it's more of the media portrayal, because generally the Euros is portrayed like has a lot of media attention, and the top media or the top sports stations, they do not just show the matches. It's like there's this whole narrative, this trend, there's a media perception around it that they really push and fight hard to drum home. But you look at Copa America and it's like, they are showing the matches all right, but the panel discussions, the short excerpts on social media about what exactly is happening, what is trending within the competition. You don't see those trends on Copa America. You see a lot of them on the Euros, which is also like the European media and how powerful they are to push a narrative.
Yeah. Because when you talk about marketability, to be fair, apart from when Messi plays or when Messi appears on the pitch or something related to a star in Copa America, that's when people are more interested. And I think the time zone factor plays a key role. But for Euros, I think right from the word go, people you don't care about, you get people watching the match, and you think people are not watching till a banger goal comes in a Slovenia versus match, and you're like, really, people are watching, and that's how it works for us. But for me, I think it's Euros over Copa America. Like, it's not really so much of a debate, but I don't know what you can say. Especially when the teams that should have made Copa America, like Brazil, are not giving us that kind of performance. Like Ronaldo said it, we thought it was lying, or we thought it was one of those oldies throwing the shade at the younger generation. But if you look at Brazil's performance at Copa America, bro, that's quite horrible. That's true. I get what you mean.
But I mean, Messi clapped back and he said, look, we might not be playing the nicest football, but we have world champions in our midst. So I think that's a fair clap back, though. That's like a solid clap back.
I'm not responding to him, but in response to what he said, before Argentina became a world champion in 2022, the last time any South American team won was when?
I don't want to remember.
Exactly.
But they have more World Cups. So
when football, that's the thing. When football was still Southern American based, they had more World Cups. Okay, but since since now we see active participation of football, now that lots of other countries have made football a thing, no, come on. I honestly think they have to do more than just say that they are the best.
It's still funny though, because you look at some of the world's most prominent players, and it looks like the recruitment, even clubs' recruitment direction now is more towards Southern America. You look at Chelsea, a lot of Brazilian players. You look at Real Madrid, a lot of Brazilian players, and they look there for talent, right? So it's still a little bit of like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to see that clubs look there for the talent, but then when it comes to national team football, it's still like there's no aura around it. It's not flowery and it's not beautiful.
Well, if I take that argument in context, if I take that opinion, in context, there was a time when they still do come to Africa to look for players, but it doesn't in any way make AFCON better. You're laughing. No, I'm just saying it's like there was an era when everybody was a black midfielder and all of that, okay. But it doesn't mean that there was any point where it translated to it. So same logic just applies to Copa America. Everybody's going there for talents, but the talent is not used to develop their sport. It's to develop European football. Vinicius cares more about his Champions League performance than Copa America. So I don't think there's anything we can just say on that level.
Cool. So let's come to the Euros, because I think that's the main bulk of the conversation. What we are going to do is basically go through the topical issues that have run through the Euros. I want you to get your takes, because I know some of these debates will get messy. And the first one is Ronaldo, Portugal. Ronaldo is really old. He scores a lot of goals for Al Nassr. He's still the world's best goal scorer and all that. But probably the difficulty with Ronaldo is that, look, he's not the Ronaldo of old. He's not able to press. He's not able to offer runs as he used to. He's not. I think what was much more evident in this Euros is that he's not even as confident as he used to be. And so he's probably a lot more jittery, a lot more in a rush to take a chance. And he didn't score a goal throughout the Euros. And a lot of people were complaining as to the impact of Ronaldo on this Portuguese team. Much more fascinating is that this Portuguese team is probably one of the most talented assembled. because you look at the talent that they have. Even in front, you look at Goncalo Ramos, you look at Joao Felix, you look at Diego Jota, you look at the options that they have, and still consistently deciding to play Cristiano Ronaldo in a position where he's more of a liability for the team because he doesn't press and offer a lot in the defensive point. But he's also not offering the thing that you want him to do, which is score goals or banging goals and score free kicks and all that. People say he's the reason why Portugal fell out of the competition. I want to hear your opinion on this.
As a Messi fan, I apologize ahead of time to all Ronaldo sexuals. This might hurt, but people usually think they said he's growing in age, but not in mind and mentality. He has a body of a 26-year-old. That's a lie. The reason why that's a big lie is because we didn't see that 26-year-old body at the Euros. And I also think football has evolved so much that it needs lots of physicality, because there's a point where Ronaldo, there was a time when even at Real Madrid, he had less defensive responsibilities. Stay in the front, they give you a cross, you are good to go. Now, Harry Kane at some point realized that, bro, I have to come deeper to the midfield to take the ball.
Literally plays defense sometimes.
Yeah, he plays like defensive midfield role sometimes. Ronaldo, right from the World Cup, I said he was washed. Okay, I've said he's been washed since Messi won. Honestly, no offense though, he's been watched since God knows when. It's just that he has had good PR around him and lots of penalties to bank. But now he can't even score average penalties to save Portugal, which is something you should also note in. You are laughing too much, relax. What does it mean? When you look at
being petty,
I'm not being petty. Like, we all know Ronaldo is very skillful. Like, when it comes to penalty, it's Ronaldo. Yeah. But he had a chance to not go into a penalty shootout and he failed. But my biggest highlight for Ronaldo was in the third match of the group stage. So Messi, when he realized Argentina, no offense, I should just bring in Messi. Argentina had qualified in the group stage. The third match, they played a very soft team, second team, because they have to rest. Now there's Portugal. They had won their first two matches. Every single member of the first team rested, except one person. Guess who?
Ronaldo.
Why? Because in his pursuit of the oldest player to score in Euros, the most appearance, the most lead, then they lost to Georgia. If somebody had told you Georgia would have beaten that Portuguese team, it was a problem. They struggled against, who did they play in the round of 16 that they went to penalties? How am I forgetting this now? In the round of 16, they struggled in their match against,
But their match against France though.
Okay, so look, the match against France was where they got exposed. Ronaldo played 120 minutes of ghosting.
Yeah, like even Mbappe was taking off.
No, you get, and that's the thing about where football had gotten to. For a team that has lots of star-stacked team and players, you don't just say you're centering your entire team around one player. Messi sits on bench during the Copa America, plays the ones that he knows are necessary because he knows the role that he fits in. For me, if Ronaldo didn't start from the bench, like he didn't start the match and came from the bench in a 78 minutes where you need somebody to cause trouble, I can bet you would have probably scored. But he didn't, and unfortunately, he went out. For me, I'm just happy he's out of the Euros. He's talking about playing in the World Cup, but I think it will be a very bad decision for him because he playing at the World Cup is just a -1 for Portugal. I think I wouldn't diminish the fact that when we're talking about greatest of all time, top two, he's part without the World Cup. He's probably like in number 3 or 4. But the point is, he has to know when to stop. There's a reason why there's something called retirement age. We know you have the body and spirit of a 26-year-old, but bruv,
I think to be very honest, his mentality is great. Ronaldo has one of the.
He cried. He cried.
Yeah, but he cried because he's an emotional human being. He's a human. Like for what it takes. Like you can't go through every single thing in this world and then say that, look, I'm a robot. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to be emotional. So even Messi cried when he scored that World Cup penalty and they lost the final. And he was even younger. So
our penalty was more important.
But he still cried. That's the bottom line.
That's away from the conversation.
He still cried. You see Messi small now, then away from the conversation.
But the point is, Portugal don't need Ronaldo now.
But what I'm saying is that he has a great mentality. The only thing is that your mentality doesn't define your physique. At some point, biology is going to catch up with you, and that's exactly what he's feeling. I don't think he's going to get to the level of Pepe, where he's 41 and still playing at the very highest levels, because obviously also the way in which you need to contribute as a player in defense is far different from the way in which you need to contribute as a player in attack.
Yeah.
Pepe can be very zonal and stay in his defensive block, and when you are coming, he just steps out and then just does what he does. But you have to be running up and down the pitch all the time.
And especially for a Portuguese team that has like lots of creative players. Yes. So Bernardo, Vitinha, Bruno, everybody, Felix, everybody can create for you. You have to be very active in that zone.
Very mobile. I also think that actually hurts them, because what they were doing eventually was every ball in the penalty box to Ronaldo.
Yes, because it's Ronaldo.
Every ball in the penalty box to Ronaldo. And if he was off, I can bet you they would either try themselves or have much more options to look for within the box than just keeping their eye on Ronaldo.
The long and short we've both agreed on now is Ronaldo needs to kindly step out.
Personally, I think he was the downfall of this Portuguese team, to be very honest.
Either way, he didn't win the Euros. That's what I'm happy about.
But he's won it before, so to be very honest, nobody cares. but let's talk about also Germany, which is another team that has a very, very talented squad in the Euros. You look at the way in which Germany set up, like when they started the very opening game, like winning a very dominant performance. I think it was a 4-1 win as well. Like a very dominant performance. And you look at the substitution options that they have, because this was a Germany team that was not playing Thomas Müller. That was not playing Nicolas Füllkrug, who is probably like one of the most prolific strikers in the Euros. And they were starting the likes of Kai Havertz, Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, you have Gundogan, you have Toni Kroos. Like, you had Leroy Sané. You look at the German team and you think superstars from starting lineup to the bench. Why did they lose out to Spain? Because this was a team that was so talented, and I don't know what eventually became their issues, because it looked like as the tournament progressed, they started struggling.
I don't think they struggled. I think Spain was just the better team. Let's talk about like contextually this German setup. They had lots of players. Hummels, who was a finalist for Dortmund at the Champions League, didn't get a call-up. I think lots of players didn't get call-up. Gnabry didn't even get a call-up at some point because his season performance was not great. Sané knew he was going to be on bench because definitely other guys had good performance than him over the season. The thing about the German star talent is that I think they were great for the tournament. Like, let's not lie. Every single match that they played, they were okay. They did the substitutions when they needed to. Füllkrug didn't need to start because his age was a problem. I think the idea of let's play Kai Havertz as a false nine, knowing fully well that Kai has always performed at Arsenal. For weird reasons, he was actually performing quite well at the Euros
but
too.
He missed some great chances.
Well, that's the point. I think great
Kai Havertz, to all the Arsenal fans, Kai Havertz was like average at Euros.
I quite disagree. In as much as I hate Havertz, I think he did what average. He was supposed to do.
No, he didn't. He's supposed to score goals. You are playing as a false nine. You get the chance. Like some beautiful runs that this guy will do in between. He will run as if he's prime Pele, then shoot as if he's in Ndombele.
That was a very good one. That was a good one. I get the word right. What is this? I don't get why we don't need beer for you to start saying these kind of things. But I take what maximum. The fact is, I think he did okay for the tournament, and that was why.
The average I'm saying is not like he was bad. It's like he was an okay player. He wasn't a great player at the Euros, so don't blow it out of proportion.
Well, the point is the Spain he played against. Okay, so let's just go right to why they didn't do well, and I think it's Spain. The Spain match was the match. For me, if you take away the France versus Spain that just happened at the semi-final, at the semi-finals, that match was a match.
That like line of succession to the final, that journey to the final, like whoever was going to get to the final from that group was going to go through hellfire.
Yeah, and because the thing was, at that match itself, you can realize the tactical changes was what gives Spain the edge. Yeah. First half, the coach realized that the front three was not working for him. That's what's the name of the guy? Yamal, Nico Williams, and the Morata. He changed all of them right before the 70th minute because he needed to see something happen. Yeah. Guess what? It was a substitute that actually gave a goal at the latter part of the match. And the thing about the German tactics was it just didn't work out that day. Like, let's not lie. They were playing. They were pressing. Everybody was giving like box-to-box like engagement. Yeah. But the goals were not just coming. And that's exactly why they lost out. And I think Spain was just the better team. On a good day, if Germany played against England with that same team, they would have easily scored England or any other team from the other side.
Switch ranks here. There are a lot of people who hold the opinion that Germany was actually the better team on the day. They had better chances. They hit the post, I think, twice or so. It was eventually like luck that got Spain to win the match. I don't think Germany were at their best. I think they got chances in the last stages when they were desperate, and Spain was also trying to push high up the pitch. So obviously the spaces will open up and you get your chances. But you get chances and you spoil them, because a similar header that almost scored was the same type of header that Fulcrum missed.
Once again, when you play against another better team, that is when you get to expose. Like, the pressure actually just shows up. For me, I think for that day, it was just like marginal differences. But the point, once again, is the end justifies the mean. You can possess the ball 90 minutes, so you can play all the chances, so, but if you don't win, all those things just don't literally like change or become anything else.
One key change that happened in that quarterfinal was Nagelsmann had started Florian Wirtz throughout the tournament. In that quarterfinal, he started Leroy Sané instead, and then brought Wirtz on as a substitute. And Wirtz was eventually the one who scored the equalizer. Was that a tactical mistake to start Sané? Because Sané was like poor throughout the first half.
I don't think so. I think it was more of like he trying to adapt to that play, because let's talk about tournament fatigue. It actually happens, but let's also have a discussion that it was something that needed to be done. On a good day, we actually thought Sané would actually outpace or give Cucurella a very good time. The thing is, Sané is not a bad player. He has good games and he has bad games. The idea is, we've sat you throughout the beginning of the tournament. You have a chance on a big game to prove. And funny thing is, Sané has a thing against big teams when he gets a chance to prove. He just didn't, and I think it was just a tactical decision that worked for them.
That's also like just gambling, which is terrible.
Because
basically what you are doing is, and if you want to say tournament fatigue, the most sensible thing would have been to rest Wirtz much earlier in the previous game, in the round of 16, so that he is much fresh for the quarterfinals, because you know he's the one you are depending on throughout the tournament.
Every game is important.
Yeah, I agree. Every game is important, but then if you are sacrificing his stamina to then come and sacrifice him for the first half of your quarterfinal match against the best team in the tournament, or the most competitive team, in my opinion, which was Spain. And throughout the tournament, the two teams that everybody could tell were playing very exciting football were Germany and Spain. France had never scored an go from open play until their semi-final.
Yeah, but Andrews, once again, I still think like tactics matter, because the reason why people tweak when they meet better teams is because they want to give them an edge. The same way you're here trying to understand why is he not playing Wirtz and he's playing Sané. It's definitely how I'm sure Spanish could sat down and was like, what are these guys trying to do? Then if Sané had a good game, I'm telling you, would be probably giving a very good applause to him that he did what. Yeah, he didn't. That's why you're saying what you're saying. But for me, I think it was still like a very good tactical game he did, and it just didn't work out that day.
Yeah, but Julian Nagelsmann though, like what he's done with the German team, I think with all put aside their performance in terms of the results in the quarterfinal, I think the team that he's put out, probably a lot of Germans will now have more trust and belief in the team than probably in the past couple of years. Because if you look at the team that is put out now, there's a team that plays very nice football. There's a team that... There's this difficult thing about trying to make very talented group of players work, which is a thing that England has struggled with throughout this competition. We'll come to their matter soon. But you look at Julian Nagelsmann, and also let me put it this way, he's probably one of the few club coaches at the very high level who switched to national football at their very prime.
Well, the way he left Bayern is questionable, but that's the whole German Bayern conversation. For me, I think since 2014, this is the best Germany has given. Because since that 2014, they've dipped. They didn't qualify. They didn't leave the group stage. So I think the setup is good. The talent is great. Now it's more of a conversation of experience moving forward, because Kroos is definitely not going to come back again. Gundogan is not an option anymore. How they'll be able to sort out that defensive midfield, central midfield deficits, because Musiala and Wirtz, very, very good explosive attacking players. How would they be able to sort out that? And Rudiger is hitting his 30s, let's not lie.
Rudiger low-key is one of the best defenders.
Exactly. Right? So it's what, like, we can talk about like the team setup. And one thing about the German team is that we can always admit that they have players going forward. But if you look at their goalkeeping, let's not lie, Neuer is past his prime. Stegen, unfortunately for him, has never he's never capped a competitive tournament for Germany. What it means is that who is going to be the next Neuer, because it's definitely not Stegen. What's going to happen with their defense? What's their future plan? Because if you look at other countries such as France, they have Saliba, like they have players that would be able.
France has I think they still have a pretty young squad
for every single position. But for Germany, going forward is quite good. But the back line is where I'm still looking at. But it's not good, man. They will find talents. Let's not just worry about
that's the thing. He's one of the most talented coaches in world football right now. So, which makes it dangerous for the other teams, though, because it looks like if this is his first competitive tournament and this is the display he's putting up, then most likely, if you give him more time, the team is going to be super good.
That's good.
I mean, let's look at England, the almighty England. First, before we even start this England conversation, see, England journalists, they bore me. They annoy me in every sense of the word annoyance.
Why?
The reason is, England, coach plays Alexander-Arnold. They say, Fine, he's playing Alexander-Arnold in midfield, so he should move him out of there. Brings Conor Gallagher. They say they need energy. Conor Gallagher doesn't like. Oh, he's making the wrong choice to bring Kobe Mainoo. He brings Kobe Mainoo. Oh no, but this guy Kopama is not playing. Then he plays for. Oh no, but Gordon and Isak are also not playing. Should Harry Kane be benched? Is Kieran Trippier really playing left back? Is he good? Should we switch to a back? They should all go and do you can't say UEFA A license and then come and coach.
So one thing we should all agree on first thing is that England itself have a hype problem. They see themselves as they see themselves as what they are not. If I told you England, with all the hype they've gotten, all the players they've gotten, only have one trophy, which is like 1966, like when they hosted the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's the last time they've ever won an international trophy.
You know the funny thing? They are the only team in this world that has a generation that has gone trophyless, yet they call the golden generation.
That's a good sub. But another thing too is he's always coming home, but he's never home.
I see. England's home far past.
Because like in my head it's like let's talk about that and let's talk about
England's home is like tomorrow, it never comes.
That's a good one. Like see, that's a good one. That's a good one. So the point I'm trying to make is let's talk about England as a whole.
Yeah.
The hype is times billion. The outcome horrible. And the reason why for me I find their outcome very pathetic is because of how they play as England. So you can look at the Gerrard's generation, Lampard generation, they had their problems. This is probably one of the stacked up generations that have lots of hype around them in every position.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with Southgate has always been his decision making. But if you look at Southgate overall, I won't lie to you, in probably the last 20 years, he's the best England coach.
He's the best England coach in terms of results.
In terms of results. But can he do more? Yes, he can. Because if you look at the kind of squad depth that they have, there are some decisions that he could have made. What's my problem with him in this entire Euros? The repeating of same squad, even if people had a problem. So the first 3 matches, for example, you start your first match, you play your second match. I am happy he changed the Gallagher away from. He changed from what's the name of that guy in the midfield, Arnold to Gallagher. Then he said Mainoo. For me, I've always put it on. I don't like United, but I like Mainoo. Mainoo should have started every match in this tournament.
United fans don't like you too.
No problem, we are fine. He should have perfectly complemented the kind of effort Rice brings and covered for Bellingham, if Bellingham has creativity, by the way. But the point is, he doesn't play Mainoo, he experiments. But he eventually realizes that every time he does a substitution, that is when he gets the results. Notice, England struggles if they don't concede first or they create first. They have a problem of them just distributing the ball around. When the substitutions happen, mysteriously, their gameplay changes. So when they start playing, you see when Mainoo comes, they start attacking more. No offense, he's the only one that has balls to be able to pass the ball forward. Every other player always passes around backwards. Declan Rice, everybody's doing the who is supposed to take the bold step. Saka is trying to do what he does at Arsenal, but now because behind. Walker is also running behind, he has a problem with how he goes. He doesn't want to cross the ball in. And the other side, Foden is played out of position for no reason. And even if you have Gordon or you have other players that can play in there, your man says, nah, let's not play them there. We are fine. What is the rant about England journalists? They don't know what they want. For me, I'm very direct with what I want. No offense, I feel like looking at what Palmer has done this season, very well, carrying a very shitty Chelsea team, which we'll talk about later on, throughout this whole season, being that creative mindset.
Hold on. First, I just want to acknowledge that you admitted that it was a shitty Chelsea team. It's a very important part of this conversation.
Because it's individual brilliance to carry a team that has been horrible this whole season. Still get young player of the season, get that amount of contribution of goals and assists. Means that he can create. He's a difference maker. You had every chance to pair him up with Bellingham, who can play deeper. Bellingham played deep in Dortmund. This season, we can agree he gets goals, but in England, he's not that guy.
Yeah.
You could have played even Palmer on the wings or swap him with what you want Foden to do, because Palmer at any point in the front can give you the kind of results that you want. You don't play him, we are fine. You decide to play your regular team, then whenever you need help, you bring the Avengers on board. And every single time he has gotten the result has always been when the Avengers have actually come on board. With the striking role, I understand Harry Kane has been perfect, but Harry Kane has not gotten people to create for him to be able to exhibit what he's done. So now Harry Kane plays defensive midfield role.
He literally drops in so deep. You ask, like, are they asking him to be Declan Rice or what exactly?
Exactly. And the thing of right back, who is playing there? How do you go to a tournament with a left back and not play him throughout the whole tournament?
No, first off, how do you go to a tournament with an injured left back and your backup is a right back? He went with 3 right backs. He went with Kyle Walker, he went with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then he went with Kieran Trippier.
Guess he wanted to come back right back. I'm sorry. Like, the reason I got that right back joke is like, you see one of those other last season, one of those guys, those wordplay. I think he wanted to come right back. That's why. Because, bro, how can you go with 3 right back and 1 left back
and 1 injured left back? That's very important.
And the point is, the injured left back stopped being injured, but you're still playing the right back.
Yes.
Then you decide to play Arnold as midfield. Arnold, I've never seen Arnold so shambolic, but that particular phase of the tournament, he could not cross one ball.
Let me pass this comment. The only national team coach who is so clueless and looks like he just mimics what players are used to do at their club without context is Gareth Southgate. When Klopp started making Arnold invert into midfield, he forgets that he doesn't play there full time. He just comes when Liverpool is in possession. Guess what? In friendly games, he started listing Alexander-Arnold as a midfielder. Similar to Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, when he was at Dortmund, always played as a defensive midfielder or as a central midfielder. When he came to England, he was always playing like that. Goes to Madrid, starts playing as a 10. Not even a 10. I call him a second striker because they never had a striker. So always you have 2 wingers, very, very narrow, and then Bellingham doing the second striker role. He comes to England knowing very well that you have a striker who is very mobile, who usually drops a little bit deeper, occupies the exact same position Bellingham occupies at Madrid, doesn't care, plays Bellingham in a 10.
You see, the problem with Southgate is I don't know what he listens to. I don't know who confuses him. I don't know what's in his head, but it's not good. And the reason why it's horrible for him is because he's about to play against a team that know what they are for. But before we talk about Spain, let's talk about like the substitution. He has a thing. So if Menu is going, if it's not Menu for Gallagher, it is Menu for Izzy. He has a thing of like, then Harry Kane, I don't know what made him change Harry Kane for Watkins in the last match, but he has a thing for calling the right substitutions. And I really do hope in the finals, he doesn't think Spain will give him the chance to call on the right sub to do it.
Spain should mafia him.
Yeah, because the game they played against Netherlands, I'll be fair, that's probably their best game the entire tournament. And the reason why is because of Menu. I'll still say it here right now on any day. That boy,
I mean, he played the full length of the game.
Yes, up until when they wanted the defense, then they decided to swap him. Menu he's that guy. See, if he had come to Ghana, it would have pained me for him because he would have probably been. Yeah. He would have probably been
I would have written a letter to beg him not to come.
Yeah, because the guy is good. And for me to give a United player this much hype, I don't remember the last time, but this boy, I keep on saying
he has the highest pass completion rate in the Euros.
Boss, his composure. For an 18-year-old, we are thinking, okay, for an 18-year-old, I'm thinking this guy should be scared. This guy should be worried about how he's dealing with playing against big players. But Menu holds the ball and he's like, who are you? He does some skills on your head, you're like, bro, this guy is good. I just think Southgate has been lucky. He says if he doesn't win, he's going to resign. But for him to have taken them to back-to-back Euro finals, it might be a conversation he could probably change his mind.
The English FA still wants him to stay. And the thing is that Southgate has statistics on his side. Performances, none. And that's the thing. I think England would just be better off to move on from him quickly.
No.
So, why?
Who's the alternative?
They should think. It's not my job to think for them. They should think about their alternative.
This is the debate room. No.
But that's the truth, because I think if they have an FA who can find a good men's coach for them with the talent and the squad that they have, because Southgate is also, I don't know, it's like the media influences him a lot. He listens too much to the media.
mysteriously they said Saka should be playing left back.
Left back. Then the next game he's playing left wing back.
And I'm like, well, I had a joke about being left. Like, let's just end.
Southgate, nah. See, like, and for me, the question is, you look at the substitutions that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
Saka is a good player, but Saka is also, people don't talk about this much, but a very selfish player. He plays in a way that he carries the ball and always wants to run. It's a freedom that Arteta gives him because they don't have a focal striker at Arsenal, and he relies on goal-scoring wingers like Saka.
Mm-hmm.
England doesn't need goal-scoring wingers. They have one of the most prolific strikers in European football right now. And they have a lot of... You have the best player in the English Premier League. You have the best player from the Spanish La Liga, who are all very highly efficient goal scorers. So you don't need Saka to be the one who gets the ball and instead of making passes or putting in crosses, just wants to run in behind as if the touchline is his friend.
And guess who's running behind? Walker.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know how like it's going, but
And that's the thing. That's how come the goal that came for them to win over the Netherlands. Everyone says if Saka got that ball in the exact position Palmer got it, he would never lay it off to Watkins.
And that's the reason why I still say it again. That finals, take the bold decision. Either you are starting Palmer. And the reason I'm saying so is the reason why Spain struggled a lot against France was because of France at some point were not getting creative midfielders.
Yeah.
So it was just more of like a box-to-box counter-attack ball. And nobody was feeding Mbappe, Dembele, or any of the strikers the true passes or the balls that they need for them to score. If in that finals, he plays a Saka for Harry Kane, if possible, he's playing Foden. Let's just give Foden the chance that he's there. And plays Kopama. Kopama, one thing I've noticed about him is that boy, he has a thing of knowing how to break through midfield and defenses. If they give that guy 2 or 3 more chances, they would easily win.
Palmer and Menu hold very similar levels of composure on the ball. Very composed. And what they do with the ball, you just sit and be like, people could have done this and they weren't doing it all.
Bro, like Rice gets the ball and is ricing the ball back. Then you look again, then Kobe Menu takes the ball, and there's something about Menu. When he takes the ball, the other players are alert because they're like, he's about to do something crazy.
Or he's going to make a run and then lay it off properly or something.
Well, let's see what the finals brings back.
I mean, before we shift to Spain, what do you think his starting lineup for the final should be?
Same lineup he has used the entire tournament. He's going to play Foden, Harry Kane, going to play Saka. If he goes in that finals and he's not getting goals or any mysterious performance, they would waste our time by passing at the back. Yeah. If Spain scores them, all of a sudden they'll start attacking. If they are not getting enough goals to attack, halftime he's going to make one of the subs. Eze is coming in or Kopama is coming in. Or if Harry Kane is not seeing top, he's going to bring in Watkins or he's going to bring in Ivan Toney. If nothing is happening at all, he's going to take out Kobe Menu and bring in another attacking player. Then we are going to wait for Inshallah and vibes. If not individual performances, it's still same lineup he will start with throughout, and he's going to do same.
I think that the decision is a little bit difficult for him as well because now he generally has Palmer, Menu, Saka, and Foden and Bellingham. These 5 people, he needs to drop one.
No offense.
Right? So there's one person he needs to drop.
For me,
in my opinion, I think he should drop either Saka or Foden, one of them.
I'm not thinking he should drop Saka or Foden. I'm thinking he should drop Foden. Foden because if he wants to change Bellingham out, he can bring it. But the thing is, no offense, this tournament, let's not lie. Bellingham is not that guy. See, let's not lie. Bellingham is not that guy. What he's doing is something Foden can conveniently do.
Here's the thing.
What he's doing is what anybody can conveniently do.
I typed out a defense of Bellingham for someone, and I'm going to repeat it here.
Okay.
No one should ever use Bellingham's performance in the Euros to downplay the quality of a player that he is. And the reason why I'm saying this is this. This guy was the youngest captain in Dortmund. He plays as a defensive midfielder.
Skip the history.
Hold on. As a central midfielder, he went to Real Madrid and is used more as a second striker. The thing with Southgate, and here's the thing, because of his performance at Real Madrid, we expect to see a goal-scoring Bellingham. We expect to see this Bellingham who makes the late runs into the box, who scores the late winners and all that. But Southgate and the team that they have, you can't utilize Bellingham that way because the way you want to utilize Bellingham requires you eliminating Harry Kane, because literally Bellingham is the Harry Kane of Real Madrid as at now. He's the highest scorer in Real Madrid, for hell's sake.
The reason why he's the highest scorer in Real Madrid is just because of how Real Madrid's setup is.
Real Madrid sets up with a 3 midfield of Toni Kroos, Camavinga, and either Valverde or Tchouaméni. Bellingham has zero defensive responsibility on him.
That is why I'm still saying again, that is why in the finals, Foden shouldn't be the one playing.
Yeah.
Foden shouldn't be the one playing in that particular position. It's either Bellingham or Foden, and let a winger play his winging role, and let somebody play at the right to play their right role too.
I mean, let's talk about Spain, because Spain and England are going into the grand final as well.
Okay.
Spain has been one of the most exciting teams aside Germany. People have talked about their wingers, Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal. They've also spoken about Dani Olmo, because Gavi got injured. Dani Olmo started playing, and he's really been probably their best player since Gavi got injured and then he started playing.
Okay.
I don't know, what has been the standout for Spain, and why have they been so good this competition?
I think one, their team setup, everybody knows their role. Credit to Cucurella for being exceptional in this tournament.
Definitely credit Cucurella because he's a Chelsea player.
After that criticism they gave him at the beginning, but the setup is amazing.
Yeah.
They know what they want. They have the players that can execute it. Right from defense through to midfield, through to attack. Everybody knows their roles. And now Spain is not doing so much of pass. We want to pass you out.
They are not playing the
They are literally playing, we are attacking full force. And every player is playing within their role, and they know what they are doing. What it means is that the edge that Spain is having in this particular tournament is their team collectivity and how active they are with regards to attack. Yeah. So the reason why for me I'm giving them like a very good credit is the coach has been right with the score throughout the tournament. For every single team he has faced, as to whether he's prioritizing possession game or counter-attack game, wing play, central inverted, everybody has been playing their role perfectly well. If somebody had told you Ronaldo, who is like one of the best players for Bayer Leverkusen, will be benched by Cucurella, it was unthinkable at the beginning of the tournament. But for weird reasons, this whole tournament, he's not really been able to play even one game. I really think Spain has this tournament with them. I'm a Yamal fan. I hate Barcelona again, but Yamal is that guy.
Yeah,
his creativity and out of the box unpredictability. He's not using so much energy. He knows when to zonal attack, zonal defense. He knows when to match up players. He knows when to do the runs. He knows when to shoot. Yamal is a player I don't know what he's doing next. He gives the next Messi kind of energy.
Like Cole Palmer, very unpredictable. They do everything.
No pressure. He's calm. And that's the reason why, for me, the 3 players in this tournament that Cole didn't really play, but the 2 players who I'm looking forward to how the season is going to treat them is Yamal, then Kobe Mainoo. These guys have like superstar energy, calmness, and everything around them. So for this, the Spain versus England, I'll be shocked if Spain doesn't win, because they're the only team that have played the entire tournament and have won every single game without even needing to go to extra time, except the game against Germany, and that game was actually a very hard game, and the team setup is solid. Exactly. Fabian Ruiz, exceptional. Morata is the way this is a banner. For every good play he gives one bad play to cut it out. So for that period, I come to say he's horrible. He's making that tackle that is very quite crucial.
He's also making very terrible runs, because when these 10s and the wingers have the ball, you are looking at the striker who would make a run to open up a passing line for him. Morata is like he's hiding behind defenders.
But he's hiding.
What is this?
He's hiding. He's playing shadow striker. He knows what he's going to get eventually.
But you look at the Spanish team as well. One thing that have been a really good standout for them is they have so many options that your team's concentration cannot be on one point. So for instance, you are marking Yamal, you are marking Nico Williams, and then all of a sudden Dani Olmo shows up and starts causing trouble in the middle. And then when you place the concentrations on Olmo in the 10, they start spraying the passes outward.
And that lack of, and the idea that they've had lots of credit to that, but the idea that they've had lots of injuries, yellow cards. They played the game against France. They didn't have Carvajal, they didn't have Pedri. Their original setup, and everybody is playing quite well. That's a tournament team. Like a team that when you remove one player,
you miss someone, you really don't.
You don't really see anything. That's how good they are, and I really think it's something we can say. For me, I think they'll be the one that would win the fight. Like let's just cut to the part where we predict who wins. Spain is supposed to win. If mysteriously Southgate gets his score right, it could be a very difficult game getting to extra time. But it's going to be a tight game. It's not going to be like an easy all-going game because England, their midfield is not sleeping. I don't think anybody would give Yamal the good time as expected. Probably it is now Trippier would actually get exposed if he goes against Yamal. But on the other side, Walker, Cucurella, Nico Williams, Walker is not going to be like that's not even going to be something we should contend on. The midfield battle, Rice, Kobe Mainoo, and whosoever is there is going to be well balanced because once again, credit to Mainoo, he knows when to defend, when to attack. The differentials would still be on who takes advantage of the opportunity. And I'm still saying Spain would probably do that.
Two problems I have with the way England is likely to set up because their setup in the semi-final was either a back five or a back three, however you call it. They were playing 3 central defenders and playing 2 wing backs. The problem is Netherlands allowed them for their wing backs to push up, so it was fine, right? The problem is this time around, Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal are going to also be pushing up, and they are very aggressive players. There are 2 things England would have to do. Either you decide you don't care and still push your wing backs up, which means you isolate Trippier and Walker to the 2 wingers of Spain, and then there is much more exposure for the one central defender who is in the middle. Or you push back the wing backs to create the back 5, but then England now becomes a team that's just sitting deep.
So once again, that's where we know whether Southgate is gambling or is lucky. We will know who is a tactician and we will know who is really, really doing like their main job. But the final is going to be fun to watch, and it's something I'm looking forward to seeing how like the finals would really, really set up. And let's just see how it goes, honestly. But the finals will be exciting.
Before we go to the predictions, there's one player that will do a disservice to this episode if we don't discuss, which is Rodri. Rodri for Man City. The only time, and people also brought the statistic that the only time Rodri lost a game in open play was against Kobe Mainoo's Manchester United, where Mainoo scored. And Rodri has not lost a game for Spain this entire calendar year. So maybe the only time he'll lose a game is with Kobe Mainoo's England, where Mainoo might probably score. But the thing is, Rodri has been very, very pivotal to the play of Spain. Rodri is probably the best defensive midfielder in the world right now. And they've started making shouts for him for the Ballon d'Or, so which I don't think will go that far. But
I just think Rodri has bad PR. Because he could easily play out as the face of Spain. Manchester City. The same way Liverpool did with Van Dijk. That season when they were saying Van Dijk was invincible, he was exceptional. Rodri was exceptional in the treble running race they did last 2 seasons.
City tends to hype up Kevin De Bruyne
KDB,
and Haaland.
Meanwhile, Rodri has a consistent, because if they had even hyped him up a little this season, if they give him the Ballon d'Or, I don't think nobody will have an argument because he's been exceptional even at the Champions League throughout. And the thing is about consistent performance. I don't think Rodri gives us bad games. Rodri gives us consistently good games. Even in Spain, he still does same. But mysteriously, we make it look like he's that guy that can be said best player at Ballon d'Or. Even if he's 10th, I don't think anybody cares like that because he's not that guy.
If he wins, people won't care. If he doesn't win, nobody even thinks about it.
Nobody say if he wins, Madrid fans will care.
But this year, I don't think he would because City didn't win any major trophies.
But last season he had every claim to make, but still we don't think he went on. But let's just see. I think Rodri can be underestimated, but once again, it's up onto who is going to gamble more on that.
I think the game will be won in the middle of the park. So let's see how the midfield battle goes.
Well, Sunday should be a fun thing for us to look forward to.
I mean, final predictions. Who do you think is going to win? England, Spain, grand final.
If Copa starts. If Copa starts.
You're just Chelsea bias.
No, I'm not just bias. I'm talented bias.
Please,
Copa starts. So let me do this contextual. If Copa starts, I see England winning the game 3-1. Because of extreme creativity and a very good team we are looking at.
It's a high score line. 3-1 against Spain.
If Copa starts, this may be irrational and biased. But if we are being realistic, based on what has happened so far, the game will be a very closely contested game. 2-1, 1-0. The goal difference between Spain and England could be 1. I don't think it's going to be anything extraordinary. No matter the goal line, it's going to be like a very slim one. They could go to extra time. Funny thing is they could go to penalties. It's a there's a world where that happens, but I think Spain would win it eventually.
I think England has been defensively solid, but also I don't think they've played against teams that are aggressive attackers. And in that line, I think England's defense would be exposed. Like that conundrum I described, whether you push your wing backs up and then expose the defense, or you play them deep and then create a defensive solid shape. England is definitely going to have a choice to make. And I don't think they are going to. And Spain have also proven to break down deep line defenses as well. So I think you're going to have Spain having an edge, obviously, in the final. It will take a miracle for Southgate to go home with a trophy. But I think Spain
but this is also something I can say is a trend in football. Teams that get out of extremely tough situations from group stage to the out round tend to get very good finals. France did it in 2018. Argentina did it even at the World Cup. But the thing too is, any team that makes a back-to-back final wants to make a statement. And let's not lie, England has made back-to-back finals against all odds. All the tournaments, we always blame Southgate and how, but mysteriously, he's found himself again in the finals.
It's media that makes noise because every other team, France hasn't been playing well, but we don't hear them.
No. France, they've won the World Cup. That shields them for a very good time of criticisms, and we can see what their future would be. So we are fine.
Sure. Anyway. It's been a nice conversation, though.
I think it's one of those conversations we have randomly, and I think
that's the thing with the podcast. Like, it never feels like you are doing a show. It always feels like you're having a random conversation.
Well, this one feels like I'm doing a show because there's no beer. I'm trying to imagine there's a beer here for us to have that conversation.
No, there's a beer for you to have that conversation.
So could we have that next time?
I don't drink. I don't drink.
But that's the thing. I think you have to talk to the production house. It makes no sense that you are having a beer parlor conversation with a non-alcoholic.
That's my decision, though.
Even if you're exhibiting the traits of somebody that drinks beer, but I think it's been a good one. And I think one thing I would say before they go is like good progress from Shaft. We should push more. I think we're all here. It's one big family.
Yeah. I mean, thanks everyone for joining on this episode of the Beer Parlour. Also on this episode of the Shaft podcast. It's been a really amazing discussion featuring the Euros, starting with the whole Euros Copa America debate, weighing in on there, and then talking about the Euros as we've seen it so far. The most topical issues from Ronaldo's Portugal to Mbappe's France to Spain and the wonders of Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, and all the fun and boring stuff as well about Gareth Southgate's England. But then we're looking forward to a final on Sunday. Let's see how it goes. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave your comments and your opinions on these issues in the chat space as well. See you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.